you got to have motivation, and I tell people, I try to get people, I'm passionate about real estate. I love it. It's just something, I love to do it. So when you love to do something, you're going to do it. But so I had the initiative because I wanted to make money. I didn't want to be poor. So I dropped out of high school just because I wanted to make money, and I went to work. I went to work for a cabinet shop, and my boss at that time, nice guy, good guy. He was going through a divorce, and he was going through some issues, and then the economy hit, and so it wasn't 18 months after I worked for him. He had to let me go, and he was losing his building, and etc. So I started building cabinets out of the back of a duplex. Now, I'd already had an interest in real estate before that. I had my mom's boyfriend had been following guys like Dave Delgado and oh gosh, there's a bunch of them back then. Anyways, so I had gone to some of those seminars, and I got a little bit motivated, and I read all the books. And but what really brought me into it, what really opened my eyes, was I'm been working for this cabinet guy for 18 months, got thrown into business for myself, outgrew the garage that I worked in for doing cabinets, which was easy to do because it's such a small garage. And then I rented a place, and then I ended up moving into the building, and then I was told, you can't live here. This place is going to burn down, and you're going to die, and we're going to get sued. So I had to start looking for another place. Well, contact a real estate agent, and he says, hey, Tom, let's go look around. He showed me places that are for rent. And well, he goes, I got another place. He goes, maybe you can buy it. And so I'm like, you got to imagine, I got long hair. I got, hair down to my shoulders. I'm always looked like I was stoned, even though I wasn't, only because I had allergies so damn bad. And so he says, well, yeah, how am I going to buy something? And he says, well, let's take a look. And so he pulls up to my old boss's building where I had just worked, my first job, basically. And I said, well, how's that work? I knew the building. And he says, well, and times were bad. This is right after the gas crisis, and you probably don't know or remember, but they had a gas crisis where you could get gas every other day. In other words, odd days, if you had an odd number on your license plate, you could get gas. Even days, even numbers. Anyways, but interest rates were coming down from like being 15% to borrow money for even a house. It's crazy.
Wow.
It's really bad. And so these guys had this building for sale. They were, owners, probably 70, 80 miles away. And he says, well, he goes, maybe they'll finance it for you. And so this is my introduction to owner financing. And so I'm like, this sounds great. And I didn't have any money. I I could handle rent, but I couldn't handle a down payment. And so I figured out that, well, I could raise the money in 6 months. He goes, well, we'll ask for a 6-month escrow. So that's what he did. We asked for a 6-month escrow. And what we threw in there was, 6-month escrow with the buyer's right to move in, so that the place doesn't get damaged, because we worried them about graffiti and break-ins. So they said, no problem. So I got a 6-month escrow. I moved in, and now I didn't have any rent for, 6 months. And this is a big place. This is 6,000 square feet. My previous building that I was renting wasn't even 1,000. So I was excited, but I was saving money. I thought, hey, worst case, I'll move out in 6 months. But at the end, I saved the 10 grand because I wasn't paying rent. And so I paid that, and I moved into the building. And it wasn't probably a week after I moved into the building, they still had the for sale sign screwed to the front of the building. And he says, a guy stopped by and asked me, he said, Tom, not Tom, he just goes, hey, what do they want for the building? And I go, well, it's not for sale. I bought it. He goes, well, what'd you pay for it? And so I told him, I think I paid $110 for it. And he goes, well, I'll give you $20,000 more than you paid for it. And I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, well, I don't want to sell it, but that registered. 20 grand was more money I'd ever seen. I'd never had 20 grand, and it wasn't hard to figure out, wow, I just made $20,000. That's what I felt like. So I continued in with my business, And then, but that was such an eye opener and a motivator that I began looking for other properties. And I started going to looking at single family homes. I looked at anything around me, anything for sale, same came up in the neighborhood. And that's what I tell you in my book, which plug my book here. Wake up and smell the real estate. This is on Amazon. You can get it for $10. It's like a course. I mean, you pay thousands of dollars for something, that won't take you near as far. But that motivation sent me to looking for houses, and I made cards that said, I buy homes under 50,000, which was unheard of there at the and they laugh, you give it to a real estate agent and he says, I buy houses under 50,000 too. I said, well, if you get one you can't buy, let me know. And so that was one of the things I did. The other thing is I just called on every for sale sign as soon as they came up. And you got to consider, if somebody's owned a property for 20 to 30 years, it's probably paid off, right? And back then, the banks were probably giving them almost 10% interest because you could actually get that much money on your money in the bank. It's hard to believe, but you could. And so that was a little bit of a fight, but I would always offer to say, how about owner financing? Because that's what I was introduced to with my very first deal. And a lot of them couldn't do it. And so the first several that I bought, I found somebody else that had money. So I went to a buddy of mine that was a computer programmer back then, and he had money, but he didn't have time. I had time. Between being self-employed, you kind of own your own schedules. So I asked him, I just started going, and I'd find houses. I'd be the first one there, make an offer, a lowball offer, but I'd offer cash and short. That's always the best thing. Offer cash. It didn't matter that I didn't have it. A property, I know it's worth $50,000 and I have $30,000 cash, 30 days. It's not a problem because I'll find the cash. And that's what I did. So I had my buddy Dan, probably did the first couple deals. He had the money, and then after 2 or 3 deals, we split the profit. I got $8,000, he got $8,000, and and then $6,000, and we got another one. And he goes, hey, Tom, I don't want to sell this one. And I go, well, there's probably $15,000 profit. Just give me $6,000. He gave me $6,000. Well, now I had enough money. I was operating on my own. I had, probably $25,000. And I bought a house, actually. I bought a house for myself. That was later. That was when I was 25. But this is still early. We're talking 20s now, early 20s. Then I found a building. I found this plumbing and hardware place that wasn't operating anymore. And so this is a nice building. It's by mine. Well, I found out who the owner was, and then I just dug, and then they said, no, they're going bankrupt. And I started just trying to find people that knew them. They go, oh yeah, no, they're living 20 miles outside of town in a little motorhome. And so I went out there and talked to them. They said, yeah, we're just going to let it go. And I said, well, look, how about I give you $10,000 and I just take your position, we'll bail it out before it goes into foreclosure. So I went to the people that were foreclosing on him, and I said, hey, rather than foreclose on him, how about if I just pay the note to you? Because they were carrying a note. And they go, no way. They got to see me, long hair. I was a smart guy and a decent kid, but they weren't interested in that. So I had to go find the money again. And I went to my old boss when I used to work for a steel constructor or building constructor, John Brooks, really great guy. And in fact, he was probably worth $100 million when he died at 60. And he was just and he bought all kinds of property. He didn't make it all in real estate. He made a lot of it just in steel buildings, but really good guy. But anyways, I went to John. I said, hey, John, I go, hey, come look at this building. You got to see this building. And I hadn't worked for him for a couple of years. So he comes over and I said, man, it's got to be worth $220,000. I said, I can buy it. I can get it for like 170, I think. And he comes over and looks at it and he goes, hey, Tommy. He goes, yeah, this is a good deal. And I go, well, let's buy it and we'll split the money. And he goes, well, I don't want a partner. And I'm like, huh? And he goes, how about I give you $20,000 and you just go away? And I'm like, oh, that's a fantastic idea, And so that was my introduction to assigning property. Okay. And that's in my book too. It's assignments, making money with assignments. And what I did was, of course, got that $20,000, and now I just bought another one. But I kept looking for owner financing. I didn't always get it. And by the time I was 25, I'd owned enough real estate and turned enough, mostly just turned, except for the building I was sitting in. But now I could actually go get a loan. And the first loan I got, I bought a house for myself, 3,000 square foot. Again, it was a great deal. A divorce sale. It was, like I said, it was a big, huge Brady Bunch looking home, huge kidney shaped pool, really, really awesome. And I, bought that, rented out half of it to a friend of mine that was a painter, and just kept doing the same thing over and over. And then by the time I was 28, I didn't need my cabinet shop anymore. And a guy came in and asked me. He asked me about my cabinets, and he asked me, and I said, I was in a good mood, and he wanted a light frame, like $160 thing. And I go, yeah, I can make it for you, $100. And he goes, $100? He goes, I can do it myself for that. And I'm like, hey, go home and do it. And I opened the door and just said, let yourself out. And I was done with business. I was done with that. That was like a job to me. I was done. So a friend of mine said, Tom, you own this, right? You own this. I go, yeah, you own this and this and this. And I go, yeah. And he goes, why are you even working? He goes, why are you even working? And I started doing the math, and I thought, yeah, because I keep myself broke in real estate. I would just buy and buy and buy. And I mean, if there was, $1,000 a month cash flow coming in, that means I could go buy something and handle a negative $1,000 cash flow for a little while until I get it on its feet. And that's kind of what I still even do to this day. I don't over leverage at all. Don't ever think I over leverage. I don't. Everything I buy under market. So that's my hedge. If I'm, even to put 25% down, it's going to be worth at least 25, 30% more than I'm paying for it. And so ultimately I'm going to be, I'm going to have at least 40% equity in it the day I buy it, no matter what I pay for it. Or how much I put down. But so for people just starting out, that was your question mainly, wasn't it?
I have a follow-up though, and thank you for sharing. I think a lot of people have a question like, can you dive into a little bit more into owner financing, exactly what that is?
Sure. So owner financing is just exactly what it says. Instead of going to a bank to get the money to buy the property, the person that you're buying it from, they finance it for you. So they're going to have a lien on the property, a first trust deed, a note secured by a first trust deed, I should say. And that's it. And pretty much that's it. And there's a lot of reasons for people to do that. If they're going to put their money straight in the bank, what I always say, look, if you're going to put the money in the bank, they're just going to hand it to me and they're going to make 3% on you right now. Back then I'd say they're going to make, I'll give you 10%. The bank only wants to give you 5%. Because rates had started going down by that time, But yeah, basically, and I've carried a lot of notes. I've done that too. And, there's some dangers in it. People will stop making payments on the note. And
but you have the lien on the property.
You have a lien on the property. You don't always want it back. I can tell you, I kind of went from commercial buildings to houses to commercial buildings, then to land. Huge opportunities in land. Huge opportunities.
I agree. My best investment in real estate was land, just bare land.
Yeah, I know. I got a video coming too. In fact, the one I just put out, Meet Kevin. Meet Kevin was kind of dissing land. It's because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's never dealt with it. He'd never dealt with it. But land is the biggest opportunity. It's one of the biggest and best opportunities out there. One of the best things about land is the people that really want it and buy it. They know more than anybody about it. They know more than the realtor knows about it, and they're the ones that'll pay cash, especially if you get developable land. You go into any area, if there's a vacant lot, and if there's a house on each side of it, guess what? That is a buildable lot.
That's gold. Yeah.
We'll find out who owns it.
Yeah.
And chances are that's the best part about land is somebody will finance it for you, even if you don't have good credit.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the owner financing today, because like mortgage interest rates have dropped completely, especially in today's environment. So what are the percentage rates usually that the owners of the property are giving out the owner financing for?
Well, it's not that they're giving it out. Usually you're talking them into, or you're bringing it to their attention. But, you want to be a little more, I mean, in general, let me put it this way. People say, I'm getting a 3% interest rate. Well, I'm refined to get a 3% interest rate. I said, well, what's the APR? They don't even know what I'm talking about. Because what you have to factor in is when you refi a loan, you've got to get a title policy. Okay, and then sometimes they charge you half a point for the loan, and then you figure it out, it turns out to be a 4 or 5%. And the reason I mention that is because, so to your point, if the rates are 3% and somebody I'm trying to convince to finance the deal, I'll say, I'll give you 4, and I'll give them 4. And if they say, well, I want 5, I'll give them 5, because there's no qualifying. It's like that. It's agreed, sign it, done. And, give you an idea. I was in Starbucks about, golly, how long ago? Probably about 2 or 3 years ago. And I mean, now I'm a very established, wealthy guy now. And I was sitting in there, and I have a friend of mine that needed to do something with $100,000. I said, look, I'll just borrow it from you, and I'll pay off a property. I have $100,000 note on. I'll just pay it off, and I'll owe you. Yeah, that's okay. And so I was sitting in Starbucks, and one of my lawyers came in. And I said, hey, John, I said, do me a favor. I said, I need a note written up for $100,000. Secure it with this property. And then, see, this is kind of, I'm borrowing money against my property, basically reversal of owner finance.
Yeah.
And explain, and John closes all my deals anyways. And he walks away, he goes, okay. He goes, when you want that by 11? And I said, yeah, it's 9 now. I'll be there in your office at 11. He says, okay. And he goes to leave. Then he goes, hey, wait a minute. He goes, do you need any more money? I go, yeah. I go, I'll take $700,000 if you got it.
Yeah.
He goes, you know what? He goes, 4%? I go, yeah, 4%. He goes, I don't know if I got 700, but I probably got at least 5. I said, okay, good. And I said, write that up too. And so as long as it took me to tell you this story, I just borrowed $600,000 and there was no qualifying.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pre-qualified because they know me.
Oh, plus you have there's collateral on that. So,
and there is collateral on that too. And there's collateral, but guess what? There's going to be collateral in anything you buy that's real estate. If you're going to buy it, the collateral is the real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I've used that line on people say, well, I don't want to do that. What if you don't pay it? I said, well, hey, it's collateralized by your property. I go, your collateral's good, right? And kind of turn it on them. But in general, like I said, owner financing and buying land are really, really huge opportunities. They go together like bread and butter. There's more owner finance land than there is bank finance land. And people say, I'm afraid of land. I go, well, what do you think your house is sitting on? It's just a lot of fear. You don't know what you don't know. And that's why it's important to be careful who you pick for a mentor or who you pick to, take advice from, because a lot of people are running around out there claiming to have specific knowledge. They don't know. And so they're teaching theory. It's theory to them. They've never done it. And
I'm from Toronto, and we have a pretty crazy expensive market per square footage. Like $1 million will get you a piece of shit box under 2,000 square foot with probably like 20-foot yard. Like it's nothing. And no garage, no nothing. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, they have lots of those places around the USA too.
Oh yeah, San Francisco, New York. Yeah. They're all over the place. But what's becoming very popular, going back to the land, is developers are coming in and buying. Most of the construction was done post World War II. That was kind of where the boom was.
Mm-hmm.
And so these old houses in certain areas of Toronto have pretty decent lot sizes.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about old property.
But small houses, like really like 1940, 1947, 1948, like bad design, small house.
You can always build a new house. But
exactly.
You can't make more land.
So what they're doing, they're buying the land, they got their lobby group, they surveyed it, and they're dividing it, and then building these gigantic townhouses that just go vertically up.
Yep. Another thing you can do is make a flag lot. A lot of times people don't realize it, and I'll show you a piece of paper here, but you get a property like that, like a big one like you're talking about. This is shown. Oh, no, you can't see it.
No, it's a green screen, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can't see it. That's why. But anyways, basically, just imagine a square lot, right? And within that square, like a flag,
Mm-hmm.
a pole
Mm-hmm.
and then the flag. That's what it is. It's a driveway along the lot so you're basically drawing a flag over the top of your plat, and that's an access, and you create another lot in the back. When a lot's big enough, you can get away with that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot like that in your area, where $1 million home, you're going to get $1 million for the home, whether it has a big yard or not, to be quite
Mm-hmm.
honest. So you make the flag lot, and now you got a lot that's worth $400,000. And so,
Mm-hmm.
So potentially you could get a good deal, buy it for $600,000 or $500,000, subdivide it, do a simple lot line subdivision for maybe $20,000. And it's still not that expensive to do. That's even expensive compared to what it used to be. And now you just took $400,000 and now you got a house worth $1 million for $200,000. Part of this because you got a great deal. And then the other thing is you did a smart thing. You bought it for the land.
The land that you're buying right now, are you developing on it or are you just holding it?
I've done both. I have, I bought a really nice property. I got 52 acres and I paid $205,000 for that. I just sold it for $2.8 million. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah.
When did you buy it though?
No, I did. I bought it back in 1995. I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I sold it. It's been more than 5. It's been about 5 years ago, I guess. It's been about 5 years ago that I sold it. But the thing is, it was worth $1 million the day that I bought it, to be quite honest. I should have sold it then. You follow me? But there's a reason I held it. The reason I was holding it. No, here's the deal. It was probably worth $1 million, little more than $1 million when I bought it. When I got it for $200,000, I said, okay, well, this is awesome. But I already have 2 kids at that point. I planned on having more. And I thought, hey, you know what? And I'm a builder. And I thought, you know what? And I bought it because it also had a 24-inch sewer main. That's the other thing you got to pay attention to is utilities.
Yep.
And so it has 24-inch sewer main running through it. Well, I held on to it all those years because I thought, you know what? I'm going to teach my kids how to build. Because I think contracting is a great way to make money. It's a good, it just gets you hand. It's close to real estate. It's good to understand how a building's built. It gives you a better idea of when you go to buy property, you know what you're looking for, and you know how to know good trades and that sort of thing. So I held it mostly because I considered it a project to do with my kids at a later date. But it became so valuable. It's like, I should have sold it earlier. I could have done more with that $1 million, 15, 20 years ago than I could today, obviously. But the money still turned out. And that $2.8 million, I immediately got 2 good deals on 2 other buildings that are worth more than $5 million now. So I made money on the money right away. So no regrets selling it.
Do you do any surveying? Do you go to City Hall and look at developments where they're expanding to see kind of the low hanging fruit opportunity?
Well, I do, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily what somebody new wants to do. There's a lot of, just concentrate on your immediate neighborhood. Sure, I do. I'm looking at buying 30 acres right now somewhere. And what I want to know is where's the city line as opposed to being county property, because it's easier to build outside the city. Other things to consider are, is the sewer going to get out there? Are you going to, if there's sewer's gold, because, putting in septic systems is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
In fact, it's harder than ever. It used to be easy.
Fucking expensive too.
Yeah, it didn't used to be so expensive. We got so much bullshit.
You get this, where we are, there's not bylaws because they have different types of septics. You have a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year. They make bylaws where they force you to pay every single year it gets pulled out. It's extortion.
Yeah. No, it is. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I bought probably, 40, 50 lots in California, and I would go and I'd buy up. The other thing, you get into a subdivision where there's, broken up, houses here and you go in there and you get the low hanging fruit, as you put it. Go in there and, make a lot of offers and try to get everything under market. And then as soon as you get it, and that's what I did, I tied up about 30, 40 lots. Then I put everything up. I bought everything for about 10 to 15,000. And then people that were smart were holding out for 30,000 on these lots. And then I put everything I had up for sale for 40. Okay. And I didn't sell any of mine, but everybody else sold theirs for 30. And when they sold theirs for 30, I became all my stuff became worth 30. You follow me?
Yeah.
So I raised the value as I'm playing Monopoly. And then I just sold everything else that I had for, over 30 or, 25 to 30, $40,000 per lot. And that was a nice run too. And that was still while I was in my 20s.
So I want to circle back to the owner financing because this is not too many people talk about this, and I just want to kind of cement this and clarify.
Sure.
So somebody working today at a job, whatever job they have, what you're recommending is if you know your area, obviously people know where they live in their neighborhood. Look at, put in the hat of a real estate owner or property owner, survey your area, look what's on the market, look for land, look for houses. And when you approach, actually, the question I wanted to get into is when you approach the owners of the house, a lot of people have real estate agents who represent them. What's your advice when it comes? Do you try to bypass a real estate agent? Do you work with them when it comes to owner finance? What's that relationship? Because sometimes it gets dicey and tricky.
Yeah. I mean, look, I get agents that want me to, they want me to work with them exclusively. And the answer is hell no.
Hell no, exactly.
Yeah, it's not just no, it's hell no. And I tell them, I go, look, I'm a very loyal guy. I mean, and I'm giving another agent a listing this morning. This is how I operate. You bring me a deal, I'll buy it from you. They're afraid, you're going to go around me. Well, okay, then fine. If that's what you think, I've never done that. I don't go around anybody. But so what I tell them is, you show me a pocket listing. You show me something in your back pocket that's not on. They're begging the seller to, they're begging for the listing, but they're not getting it. Okay. So you tell them, and I tell those because I know that that's what goes on. And so I say, look, show me what you got. And then I go look at it. They trust me. I go look at it. I go, look, I'll pay $1 million. I'll pay 500,000. I'll pay 200, whatever it is. I'll pay this much. Now they can go to the owner and go, look, I listed, if I can't sell it in 5 days for 200,000 or 500,000, then just give me a 5-day listing. They go, okay. And then boom, it's sold. I took it. You know what I mean? So sometimes you can help an agent in that respect. The other thing is, let's say I'm trying to, I got somebody, I'm trying to buy their property, but we just can't come to terms. They won't sell it as cheap as I want them to. Okay. So now what I do is I go tell the agent, I say, hey, see that guy over there? He wants to sell his property. You can go get a listing. So the agent goes over there and tells him, oh yeah, we can get you that. And, tells him what he wants to hear or whatever. And he gets the listing. Now I'm not going to buy that property, but I've already exhausted, myself trying to buy it at a decent price. So now it can go on the market and somebody can pay more for it. But it's my way of, being nice to a realtor. Now that realtor in exchange will call me first because, it's just taking care of each other.
Okay. Follow-up question. Times always change, but the idea is the same. You buy real estate because it's appreciating value in a nutshell, right?
Well, I don't buy that way, but yeah.
Well, let me put context. I would say condos aren't in that context. I would say land.
Well, yes and no. I mean, look, land is more valuable when things are rocking. But guess what? When things fall, like we might have right now, when things go to hell, pretty soon you've got a piece of land. The land is free because you're buying it for the cost of the structure. You follow me? You can get a house and you're going, gee, it cost me, I get this house for 200 grand, it cost me 300 grand just to build the house. So guess what? You got the lot for free, right? Because you couldn't build that house for that amount.
Yes.
So it's not always, it's not always that simple. So the main thing is buying under market. And I don't feel like I answered your last question very well. The things that you're going to be concerned with is, try to specialize in something first. Don't try to look at everything because you don't know enough. You just don't know enough. It's difficult. Even I don't know everything. I'm pretty good and I can cover a lot of stuff, but I've been doing it a very long time and I bought a lot of different things and I have a lot of different prices. So I have an idea what things are worth, but I would say concentrate. If you want to start out and you want to make some money, number one, there may not be a lot of vacant land near you, but look at your immediate neighborhood. Okay. Look at what's available in that neighborhood. When you see a a place looks ratty and, blinds are tore up, go find out who owns it. Go knock on that door. You might talk to a tenant and say, well, I need to talk to the owner, and, think of whatever reason, excuse you need. Why? You get hold of the owners and say, look, I want to buy this property. You might make a deal. And now they may not be able to owner finance, but that's okay. If you get a deal to buy it and it's under market, then you just got to go find somebody like me or John Brooks, like I did, 30, 40 years ago. And you find somebody with money. And then you convince them, look at what a great deal. I get a lot of guys saying, well, I don't want to, how much is a hard money lender? They want 12% or they want 15%. I go, listen, if you're getting a good deal, that's peanuts.
Yeah.
I said, would you rather have somebody charge you 50% of your deal? Okay. And that's the test. If I get a deal, I'm going to make $100,000 on.
Yeah.
Of course I'll pay 12% on the money. Otherwise I got to find someone with the money and split $100,000. So these are things to think about.
I have a friend of mine. That's all he does in commercial. He'll find strip malls, put a small deposit, a consignment. 90 days, he doesn't have to pay it. In 90 days, he finds somebody else to take it off of him. But obviously for an increased arbitrage price.
Sure. No. I mean, that's what I tell everybody. There really is no bad real estate. There's just bad deals. You can make a bad deal on anything. I was in Compton like 40 years ago. I mean, looking at property from a tax sale. That's probably like 35 years ago. And it was like, it was nasty. We started to get out and, then we took a pistol out from under the seat and we walked the house with a pistol in our back pocket. And I'm like, you couldn't give me the property. I wouldn't pay $5,000 for it. There's needles on the floor. It was scary. Well, when it's a tax sale, the lady next door bought it for $75,000. So it has value. Mm-hmm. It's not your kind of property, And, you go into a junkyard. You go to a junkyard and you go, God, it's just nothing but junk and crap. It's the most valuable property in the world per foot. Can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So you just got to think, like I say, the possibilities are endless.
Well, has anything changed right now in our current economic situation?
Well, I don't even know. There's certainly a change. I just don't know what it is right now. This coronavirus thing, it's a very different. A lot of times we have good times and we overbuild and then everything crashes.
Yep.
It turns into a bubble. Well, we hadn't made the bubble yet. And, I'm real happy with the government that we got right now and how it's being run. I'm not happy with everybody, but I'm happy with the president and I'm happy with what's going on here. And
I'm interested in real estate. Like I think obviously apartments people need to rent, but I'm interested in what happens with commercial places like malls and movie theaters now and all the places people congregate to.
Yeah, I don't think they're threatened. I think they're okay. Well, they're threatened for other reasons. Let me put it that way. One of the things, I own a lot of jiu-jitsu. I've got a couple of jiu-jitsu gyms.
Mm-hmm.
I've got, dance places, schools, various schools of different kinds.
Mm-hmm.
And I like these. I like these services because Amazon can't hurt them.
Yeah, that's smart.
But COVID wiped them out. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those things. And I just didn't see it coming. But I was like, I didn't want the mom and pop shops that are threatened by Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And so it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But where there is, so I'm sort of leaning towards medical buildings, to be quite honest, even though some of the medical people are hurting. My doctor actually called me the other day. And I said, oh, hey, what are you calling doctor? I said, nothing's wrong. And he said, no, I just want to tell you how much I enjoy your videos.
That's awesome. I've been focusing on farmland, specifically like urban farming, especially in Ontario where I'm from. The last 10 years, each year it's grown 8% returns.
Oh,
guaranteed. Really? Yeah. It's farmland's ridiculous, especially for the supply chain too. More and more people be focusing on like, how do we get more food locally? And what's cool about it too is it's a high yield producing type of business, especially if you're doing urban farming. Like every quarter lot, you can pull roughly about $250,000, give or take, per year yield.
Oh yeah, well, I can tell you right now. Sometimes they'll have like a drought or floods one side of the country, the USA, and a buddy of mine that's out in Lancaster, California, outside LA, in LA County still, but it's out in the desert. His neighbor planted 80 acres of onions We made 400 grand that year on just that one deal.
Yeah, one vegetable.
They're easy. They're easy.
They're easy. I know. They're tuber. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of, there's so many different ways to make money. And that's why on the real estate particularly, don't judge anything by what you like. Just be a numbers guy. Somebody else wants it. Yeah, I wouldn't live in this dump, but I'll pay 50 grand for it and I'll sell it for 100, no problem. And the idea that you want it in fixer-uppers, be really careful. I would just tell anybody, if you're in Michigan or Detroit, different areas in general that are like that, they're just devastated. They're broke, they're poor. There's houses for 30 grand. You can't put any money in a $30,000 home. I mean, you can get a good deal on a $30,000 home. It better be almost free if it needs a kitchen. You know what I mean? Because you put a kitchen in it and you just spent 20 grand. Yeah. So fixer-uppers are over. I think they're just. Ben Mall has done real well with on a big basis, and he did. I understand what he did when he was younger. He and I did a lot of that stuff too. You replace carpet, you doll it up best you can, but in general, it just depends. There's got to be some meat on the bone. You got to figure out, geez, what's this going to cost? And to be honest with you, there's all the downtime of that place sitting empty. I fixer upper I did. I got a really good deal. I bought a house for what did I pay for it? I think I paid 30. Yeah, I know. Oh yeah. That's in my book. I bought a house for $34,000, and all it needed was paint. Just needed paint. Painted it up, cleaned it up, and the next day I come back after we just finished painting. I pull up and I thought, the windows look like they were steamed up. I'm like, what's going on? And I go in there. Some kids broke into the house, and they took a 5-gallon bucket of paint and they dipped a broom in it, and they painted the windows with and these are little kids. They were laughing and having a good time. Yeah. But they sloshed them. I had wood floors. I had paint on the wood. On the walls where I just textured. Ruined the texture. So, I just bought that damn thing. And all of a sudden, I had to fix everything they'd screwed up. And the parents didn't have any money. It was kind of a dump neighborhood. And these kids, their parents, they didn't have any money. They couldn't afford to fix it either. So I had to eat it. But it happens. That's
part of business.
Yeah.
Tom, I want to thank you for sharing your insights. I know you have a book. You mentioned it earlier. Where can people get it?
You can get it on Kindle, or you can get it in paperback on Amazon. If you go to the Kindle is probably the best way to go because, number one, both are good. I have people that are buying both just because some people like a hard copy to keep with them. It's a fun read. It's a good read. It's getting really good reviews, and it's selling very well. But the best part about getting the Kindle version is that I have my YouTube channel, Flip Anything. And in Flip Anything, so every time I'm talking about something relevant to that chapter, I have links to relevant videos. So you'll say, that's it. I wish I knew a little bit more. And here's a link. And you go to that and you'll hear me, may not even be talking about the exact same property, but it'll be relevant to that chapter, which is better. Gives you more.
Of course. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that's the main thing. The book is really, that's just, it's how I made my first million, and it's how I've made many millions since. And it like I say, I tell people, say, is it hard? Well, it's hard. It's work. You got to diligently look for deals. Oh
no, work.
Yeah, I know, how scary. Yeah, I've always worked so hard, it doesn't matter. But I tell them it's a lot easier than working your whole life. Because at some point, and I could have retired a long time ago. But what I do is fun. I enjoy it. It's competitive.
Yeah, that's what matters the most. Yeah.
Do it first, and I don't need anybody to pat me on the back, and then the money's the reward. So there's a way to measure it.
Anyway. Tom, thank you, man. I appreciate it so much, guys. Go get Tom's book. It'll be in the show notes as well. If you're listening or watching this, please leave a review, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Thanks for having me.